Hi, welcome back to Basic Bass. I'm Brent-Anthony Johnson. In this lesson, we're going to talk about a different way to practice the modal scales and kind of break down, and you can see the differences in the intervallic values of various different ways to approach this. Another way I like to approach this is something I call static pitch modes. Static pitch modes are using the same note to play the various different modal facets, so you can hear the differences and sort of, I learned a lot about getting my ear trained and things of that nature just through this particular exercise. It's really fun. So again, we're going to use the note C. Now notice I didn't say we're going to use this key, the C major. We're not going to use C as C major as it pertains to the diatonic modes based within that key. Today we're just going to use C as a note that plays the modal scales against the various different modes of different keys. And it's a really fun exercise, and it sort of goes like this. So you know that C is the root note of C major, as it were. And so what would happen if we use this same note to play the different modal facets of different keys, but get those scale fingerings together and use it from that approach? Because as it pertains to music, there's a lot of music we listen to that's in simply in one key. There's other music we listen to that modulates, changes keys and things of that nature, or just flips through different key centers as the music is traveling along. And it sounds seamless as a listener, but as a player, this is something really good to have under your fingers so you can, approach music from a logical standpoint. So let's just say we are using the note C to play the Dorian facet of a key. And if we were to do that, that key that we would be speaking about would be B flat major. So there's a C Dorian in B flat major. Here's the B flat major scale. And those notes are B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, and the octave. And I use the flat names because simply B flat is a flat key. If you look at the circle of fifths, it's identified as a flat key. But if we were to go with the C Dorian of that key, the notes would be the same. So instead of B, C, D, E flat, it would simply start from C, right? C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. And notice that the root becomes the seventh note of that scale. Now when I'm playing static pitch modal scales, I might change the fingering from simply relating to the root of the scale or the key, and identify or at least name a different type of scale fingering. So very much like the extended scale fingerings that I use here, because it has a minor third, you'll notice that the third note of the scale is a minor third, and that those notes are C, D, E flat, F, G, A. See what I'm saying? B flat, not B natural. And notice that from C to E flat is a minor third, versus in the key of C major, you would have a major third, that would be E. But we're not talking about C major, we're talking about B flat major. So those notes would be C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. Because we are talking about the key of B flat, it has to have a B flat therein. So my fingering would be C, third fret of the A string with my index finger, D, fifth fret of the A string with my middle finger, E flat, which would be the sixth fret of the A string, F would be the index finger on the D string of the third fret. You've got G, which is the fifth fret of the D string with my middle finger. You've got A, which is the pinky on the seventh fret. Then you have to remember that it's not C major, it's B flat major. So index finger, third fret of the G string, which is B flat, and then octave. And that would cover the C Dorian of B flat major, because it incorporates all the notes of B flat major. Moving on, if you were to use your note C to play a Phrygian scale, those notes would be C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, octave, right? So again, and those notes are index finger C, middle finger D flat, which is the 4th fret of your A string, E flat, which is the 6th note of your A string with the pinky, F, which is the 3rd fret of your D string, G, which would be the 5th note, 5th fret of your D string, but you've got an A flat here, which is the 6th degree, or 6th note, which is the 6th fret of your D string, and then you have B flat, 3rd fret of your G string. So that scale sounds very, very different than anything you've played as far as a major sounding scale, because it has a minor 2, a minor 3, you got a 4, you got a 5, you got a minor 6th, and a minor 7th. And that's one of the best ways to play that. You can play it that way as well. But in my particular case, I use my ring finger. That's just one of my own little quirks. It's not that big of a deal. You can play it either way, and just remember to play it forward and backward and really listen to it. And if you have a chance to listen to it against the key of A flat major, that would be your Phrygian scale. Because as you can see, the 3rd fret, the 3rd note of an A flat scale is C. And using that information to carry on the scale. So it would be good to play the Phrygian scale against a droning A flat note, as it would be to play, would be good to listen to a droning B flat note when you're playing the C Dorian scale that we talked about. And so if you look at the next way to play C in this context, the Lydian, because we played C Dorian and C Phrygian, the next modal scale to happen would be Lydian. And so that sounds like this. And that is actually G major. So the Lydian scale is a 4th degree above the tonic, and this would be G major. But using the 4th degree and using C as a note to play the static pitch modal scales, it sounds like C Lydian sounds like this. With a raised 4th. So you'll hear that tonality is very different than anything. It's a very major sounding because you have a major 3rd and things of that nature. However, that raised 4th moves it away from being a C major scale if you hear that. So those notes are C, again, 3rd fret of your A string with your index finger, D, 5th fret of the A string with your middle finger, B, 7th fret of the A string with your pinky. However, instead of playing an F as in C major, I would play an F sharp that's in the key of G major, and that would be the 4th fret of your D string with my index finger. Then I'm playing G, 5th fret of the D string with my middle finger, A, 7th fret of the D string with my pinky, and then B, 4th fret of the G string with my index finger, and an octave, because I'm using the octave of the modal scale itself and not the root note, which is G. So, and you can resolve that by playing the tonic, which is G major. So recognize that I'm using the note C, but I'm not playing C major. It's not the key of C by any stretch of the imagination. The 4th modal scale to play is Mixolydian, and that is actually F major. So if you play an F major, you'll note that the fourth degree of the scale is a B flat. So keep that in mind as we're playing the next scale. So C Mixolydian would sound like this. Because it incorporates the B flat that's inherent in F major. And those notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, octave. So I'm using this regular extended as if I was playing a major scale. However, I'm using the I'm using the flatted seventh interval because there's not a flatted B in C. However, there's a flatted B in F. So if you know what I mean there. So an F major scale sounds very natural, whereas a C Mixolydian scale incorporates that information. And again, you can arpeggiate these and play through them and practice them and really get your ear connected to those concepts that kind of goes beyond just simply a scale, but why it's being played and where it can be played. So it's great information to practice. Once again, it gets your ear aligned. Again, play these modal scale patterns against a droning note that is actually the key that you're playing in, and hear the difference of how that sounds. Because it sounds very interesting to play a C Dorian scale against a B flat major note, or chord for that matter. There's things that you can use like ChordBot and things of that nature to just play major sounding chords, major sevenths, major ninths, that sort of thing, major six scales, or major six chords and things of that nature that you can just listen to and simply practice this information. And as I've said before, please remember to not perform your practices. Really dig in and really listen and really use your ear to hear how that sounds. And through doing that, you'll find these wonderful magic notes that bass players seem to play for fills and things of that nature that people can't figure out. Why would he play that sort of information? It's because he understands intervals and he understands how to use that chord to play against whether it's major or minor in the context of the key that the song is actually being played in, or in that moment the key that song's being played in. If the song goes through key changes or chord changes, as it were, then it's really important to link that information together, because as you play these more and more, I feel, especially from a static standpoint, that you'll hear how differently it sounds when you start at a different note in a given key. We'll talk more. Thanks.